Her hands weren't meant to hold a gun. But that night they did. Ginny would replay that moment 1,000 times in the weeks to come. The weight of the weapon. The metallic smell of blood mixed with expensive cologne. The way his dark eyes had locked onto hers with an intensity that made her forget how to breathe. But most of all, she'd remember the choice he gave her. Come willingly or be carried. Either way, her life as she knew it was over. Some people say fate is written in the stars. Others believe we carve our own destiny. Ginny believed in neither. She believed in survival. In keeping your head down and your hands busy. In making rent and buying medicine and staying invisible in a city that chewed up girls like her and spat them out. But invisibility only works until someone decides to see you. Ginny's fingers ached from scrubbing marble floors that cost more than her yearly rent. The nightclub's VIP penthouse was supposed to be empty at 3 in the morning. That's what Mrs. Song had said, shoving the key card into her hand with a warning not to touch anything valuable. Just the floors, Ginny. Quick in, quick out. The guests left a mess. Mrs. Song hadn't mentioned what kind of mess. She never did. That was the unspoken rule of working at Eclipse nightclub. Clean what you're told to clean, see nothing, say less. Ginny had been doing this for 8 months now. The night shift paid double, and double meant Elelliana's asthma medication. It meant keeping their tiny apartment in Hongdae for another month. It meant her 9-year-old sister could breathe easy while Ginny suffocated under the weight of being young and utterly alone. Their parents had been gone for 3 years. A car accident on a rainy highway, the kind of tragedy that happens to other families until it happens to yours. The insurance money had lasted 6 months. After that came the scramble, multiple jobs, dropped out of university, nights that blurred into days. But Elelliana smiled every morning. That was enough. That had to be enough. The elevator ride to the 99th floor always made Ginny's stomach drop. The penthouse level. Where the untouchables lived and played. She'd cleaned these rooms before, champagne-soaked carpets, lipstick-stained glasses, the occasional forgotten jewelry that she always reported to Mrs. Song. Stay invisible. Stay employed. Stay alive. The doors opened with a soft chime that sounded too cheerful for 3 in the morning. The hallway stretched before her, impossibly long, lit by crystal sconces that cast dancing shadows on silk-papered walls. Everything here cost more than she could imagine. Everything here reminded her that she didn't belong. Room 99. The penthouse suite. Ginny swiped the key card. The lock clicked open with a sound that felt too loud in the oppressive silence. Nothing about this room felt empty. The air was wrong. Thick. Heavy with something she couldn't name. The massive space sprawled before her, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine. And in the center of it all, a crystal chandelier that threw prismatic light across every surface. Beautiful. Expensive. Wrong. Ginny's skin prickled with warning. Every instinct screamed at her to leave. To radio Mrs. Song and say the room was locked or occupied or on fire, any excuse to get out. But the puddle caught her eye. Dark red, spreading across pristine Italian marble. Wine, she told herself. Just spilled wine. She needed this job. Elelliana needed her medicine. The landlord's final warning letter sat on their kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Ginny pushed her cleaning cart deeper into the room. Her reflection moved in the windows, small, exhausted, unremarkable. Just a cleaner. Nobody important. Nobody dangerous. She dropped to her knees beside the stain, towel in hand. The liquid was still warm. Fresh. Her hands worked mechanically, scrubbing at the marble, trying not to think about how the color was wrong. Too dark. Too thick. Something white gleamed beside the puddle. Ginny's hand froze. She leaned closer, squinting in the dim light. A tooth. Human. Still bloody at the root. The scream died in her throat. She scrambled backward, her hips striking the edge of a glass coffee table. Pain shot through her side, but she barely noticed because now she was seeing everything she tried not to see. The dark stains on the white sofa. The overturned chair. The silk sheets crumpled on the floor and beneath them. Her hand landed on cold metal. Heavy. The unmistakable weight of a loaded gun. Ginny's world narrowed to that single object. She should drop it. Should run. Should do anything except kneel there, frozen, with a weapon in her trembling fingers. The penthouse door exploded inward. Men flooded the room. 5, 6, maybe 7, Ginny couldn't count through her terror. They moved with military precision, weapons drawn, spreading out to cover every angle. Professional. Deadly. Their eyes swept over her like she was already dead. Her body locked. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The gun was still in her hand and that was all they would see. Not a cleaner. A threat. Then he walked in. The others parted like water around stone, creating a path for the man who owned their loyalty. He moved with the controlled grace of a predator who'd never been prey. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a white dress shirt splattered with blood in abstract patterns. His black hair fell across his forehead, disheveled from violence. Dark eyes swept the room once before landing on her. On the gun in her hand. On the tooth at her feet. On the guilty picture she painted without meaning to. Time became elastic. Stretched. Ginny saw everything in crystalline detail, the dragon tattoo peeking from his collar, scales disappearing beneath blood-soaked fabric. The precise cut of his jaw. The way he breathed, slow and measured, like a man who'd learned to control even his autonomic functions. Boss. One of his men spoke carefully, as if every word was a potential landmine. She's the cleaner. But the timing? He raised one hand. Silence fell like a guillotine. He approached slowly. Each step measured, deliberate. Ginny pressed herself against the wall, her spine hitting marble. The gun slipped from her numb fingers, clattering to the floor with a sound that echoed in her skull. He stopped close enough that she could smell him. Expensive cologne mixed with gunpowder and blood. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough that when his hand shot out, gripping her jaw, she felt the calluses on his palm. Not painful, but inescapable. His thumb rested against her racing pulse. Your heartbeat, he murmured, voice like aged whiskey, smooth and dangerous, tells me you're either terrified or lying. Ginny's throat worked. Words scraped out, barely audible. Please. My sister needs me. I just clean. I didn't see anything. Something flickered in his eyes. Interest maybe. Or recognition of something he couldn't name yet. His grip loosened fractionally, thumbs still pressed to her pulse like he was reading her secrets through her skin. Boss. Another guard burst through the door, chest heaving. They're coming. The Cobra Syndicate tracked us here. We need to move. Now. The man's jaw tightened. He studied Ginny for one more heartbeat. Two. She watched the calculation happen behind his eyes. Witnessed the exact moment he made a decision that would change everything. She comes with us. No. Ginny's survival instinct finally kicked in. I can't. Elelliana is waiting. She's only 9. She needs her medication. I have to. 10 seconds to decide. His voice carried no emotion. Statement of fact. Come willingly or I carry you. Either way, you're leaving with me. Tears burned her eyes. What? I'm nobody. That's what I intend to find out. He leaned closer, breath warming her ear. Because nobody makes my pulse do what yours is doing to mine right now. Before she could process his words, gunfire erupted in the hallway. He moved faster than thought. His arm wrapped around her waist, hauling her against his chest as he spun them behind a marble pillar. Bullets shattered the art on the walls. Glass rained down like deadly snow. His body covered hers, solid and warm despite the violence exploding around them. Stay down, he ordered against her hair. His men returned fire. The room became a war zone. Ginny squeezed her eyes shut, hands fisted in his blood-soaked shirt. She could feel his heart beating against her cheek. Steady. Controlled. Like this was just another Tuesday night. Tahhan. One of his men shouted. Back exit is clear. Tahhan. His name was Tahhan. He pulled back just enough to look at her. Trust me or die here. Choose. It wasn't a choice. Not really. Okay, she whispered. His arm tightened around her. Then they were moving. The safe house was nothing like Ginny expected. She'd imagined something dark and industrial. Instead, Tahhan's car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than her entire building, pulled up to a modern high-rise in Gangnam. Glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Doormen in perfect suits. The kind of building where people like her only entered through the service entrance. Welcome to my home, Tahhan said, hand at the small of her back, guiding her through a private entrance that required his fingerprint to access. Ginny's mind reeled. This is where you live. One of the places. He pressed the button for the penthouse. Of course it was the penthouse. You'll be safe here. Safe from who? You're the one who kidnapped me. His lips curved. Not quite a smile. You came willingly. I was very clear about that. The elevator climbed silently. Ginny's reflection stared back at her from the mirrored walls, hair escaping its bun, cleaning uniform crumpled, eyes too wide. Next to her, Tahhan looked like he'd just left a boardroom instead of a shootout. He'd changed his shirt in the car. The blood was gone. Only the faint shadow in his eyes betrayed what had happened. My sister, Ginny said. Her voice shook. She's going to wake up and I won't be there. She'll be terrified. Already handled. Tahhan pulled out his phone, tapped the screen and showed her a video feed. Elelliana. Asleep in their apartment, chest rising and falling peacefully. A woman sat in the corner, older, kind-faced, reading a book. Who is that? Ginny demanded. Mrs. Park. Former pediatric nurse. She'll stay with your sister until this is resolved. The medication your sister needs is in the refrigerator. Mrs. Park knows the dosage schedule. Ginny stared at him. How do you? I know everything about you, Ginny Park. Age 22. Dropped out of Seoul National University after your parents' accident. Works 3 jobs. Raises your 9-year-old sister alone. Never late on rent despite having exactly 2001 in your bank account. No boyfriend. No close friends. You're invisible by choice, not circumstance. The elevator doors opened. Ginny didn't move. You researched me. In 20 minutes. 15. He stepped out, waiting for her. I like to know who I'm protecting. You're not protecting me. You kidnapped me because I saw something I shouldn't have. If I wanted to kill you, you'd already be dead. His expression didn't change. Matter of fact. I brought you here because keeping you close is safer than the alternative. The Cobra Syndicate doesn't leave witnesses. If they know you were in that room, you're marked. The words hit like ice water. But I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. Doesn't matter what you saw. Matters what they think you saw. He gestured toward his apartment. Now, you can stay in my guest room or you can try to run. But if you run, I can't guarantee your sister's safety. It was the second non-choice of the night. Ginny stepped out of the elevator. His apartment was vast. Minimalist furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, art that probably cost more than her parents' estate. Everything white and chrome and cold. Except for the piano in the corner, a grand Steinway, its dark wood warm against the sterile backdrop. You play? Ginny asked before she could stop herself. Something shifted in his expression. Not anymore. He led her down a hallway to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment. Bathroom is through there. Clothes in the closet should fit. I had them brought up. If you need anything, press the intercom button. Ginny turned to face him. Really looked at him for the first time since the shooting stopped. He was younger than she'd initially thought. Late 20s maybe. Handsome in a way that was almost cruel, sharp features, intense eyes, the kind of face that made you forget how dangerous the person wearing it actually was. Who are you? She asked. Really? Kim Tahhan. Leader of the Jade Dragons. He said it like he was introducing himself at a networking event. One of the 3 major organizations in Seoul. We control everything from Gangnam to Itaewon. Import, export, information brokerage. Legitimate business fronts and less legitimate operations. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman who operates outside traditional legal frameworks. The corner of his mouth quirked. But yes, I'm a criminal. Ginny's legs felt weak. She sank onto the edge of the massive bed. And the Cobra Syndicate? Our rivals. They've been trying to move into our territory for months. Tonight was supposed to be a negotiation. His jaw tightened. It became an execution attempt instead. The tooth, Ginny whispered. Whose was it? No one important. The coldness in his voice made her shiver. Sleep, Ginny. Tomorrow we figure out what to do with you. He turned to leave. Wait. She didn't know why she called out. Didn't know what she wanted to say. Thank you. For the nurse. For Elelliana. Tahhan paused in the doorway. Don't thank me yet. You're not free. You're just relocated. The door closed softly behind him. Ginny sat in the silence, surrounded by luxury she'd only ever cleaned and let herself shake. She didn't sleep. How could she? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the gun. The blood. The casual way Tahhan had ordered her kidnapping like he was requesting coffee. At 6 in the morning, Ginny gave up. She showered, washing away the dried sweat and fear, then explored the closet. Designer clothes still tagged. All in her size. The efficiency of it was more frightening than the violence. She chose the simplest option, black jeans and a white sweater, and ventured out of the bedroom. The apartment was silent. Early morning light poured through the windows, turning Seoul into a watercolor painting. Ginny found herself drawn to the piano. Her mother had played classical pieces that filled their small apartment with beauty. Ginny had taken lessons for 3 years before money got tight. She'd been decent. Not brilliant, but decent. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She shouldn't. This wasn't her home. Wasn't her instrument. But something about the silence felt oppressive, and the piano was the only warm thing in this cold space. She played from memory. A simple piece. Debussy's Clair de Lune. Her fingers stumbled over the notes, rusty from years of neglect, but the melody emerged. Soft and melancholic. I haven't heard that song in this apartment in 5 years. Ginny jerked back, heart hammering. Tahhan stood in the hallway wearing gray sweatpants and a black t-shirt. His hair was wet. No blood. No violence. Just a man in his home, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. My mother played that piece. He moved closer, silent on bare feet. At my father's funeral. Ginny's hands fell into her lap. I lost my parents too. Car accident. 3 years ago. Something passed between them. Understanding maybe. Or recognition of shared grief that never quite heals. You play well, he said. I'm out of practice. Muscle memory. He sat beside her on the bench. Close enough that she could smell his soap. Something clean and expensive. It comes back. His fingers touched the keys. The opening notes of Chopin's Nocturne filled the air. Flawless. Emotional. The kind of playing that came from years of lessons and loss. Ginny stared. You said you didn't play anymore. I said I don't play. Not that I can't. His hand stilled. There's a difference. Why don't you? Because the last time I played was at my brother's funeral. And I promised myself I'd never touch these keys again until I avenged him. The rawness in his voice made her chest ache. What happened to him? The Cobra Syndicate happened. They tortured him for information about our operations. When he wouldn't talk, they sent him back to us in pieces. Tahhan's hands curled into fists on the keys. I found what was left of him on my doorstep. He was 19. Ginny's breath caught. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be careful. He turned to look at her, and she saw the monster lurking behind his civilized mask. Because I won't stop until every single person involved in his death is dead. And you're caught in the crossfire now. She should be terrified. Should run, consequences be damned. But all she could think was that she understood. If someone hurt Elelliana, she'd burn the world down too. How long do I have to stay here? She asked quietly. Until I eliminate the threat. Or until they eliminate you. He stood, and the moment of vulnerability closed like a door slamming shut. My men are working on identifying who in the Cobra Syndicate knows about you. Once we have names, we'll handle it. Handle it, Ginny repeated. You mean kill them? I mean neutralize the threat. However necessary. He headed toward the kitchen. Are you hungry? The whiplash of conversation topics made her dizzy. You're going to make breakfast? No. I'm going to order breakfast. I don't cook. He pulled out his phone. Preferences. Anything. I'm not picky. He ordered enough food for 5 people. When it arrived, brought up by the same doorman who hadn't even blinked at seeing her, they ate in silence. Ginny tried to make sense of the surreal situation. Eating imported strawberries in a criminal's penthouse while her sister slept, watched by a hired nurse. Can I call Elelliana? She asked. Tahhan handed her a phone. It's secure. Untraceable. Elelliana answered on the second ring. Ginny? Hey, sweet pea. I'm okay. Where are you? Mrs. Park said you had an emergency at work. That you'd be back soon. Ginny's throat tightened. I did. I do. Just taking longer than expected. Are you okay? Did you take your medicine? Mrs. Park gave it to me. She's nice. She made pancakes. Elelliana's voice dropped to a whisper. Is this because we owe rent? Are you in trouble? No, baby. Nothing like that. Work stuff. Boring work stuff. Ginny blinked back tears. I'll be home soon, okay? Be good for Mrs. Park. Okay. Love you. Love you more. The line disconnected. Ginny set the phone down with shaking hands. She sounds happy, Tahhan observed. She sounds confused. She's 9. She doesn't understand why I'm not there. She will when you come back safely. He topped off her coffee. Which you will. You can't promise that. I don't make promises I can't keep. His eyes met hers. You're under my protection now. That means something. It means I'm a possession. A problem to be managed. It means you're valuable. He leaned back in his chair. And I protect what's valuable to me. I'm not valuable. I'm a cleaner who was in the wrong place. You're a woman who showed up in my secured penthouse at exactly the right time to be framed for attempted assassination. You're a woman whose heartbeat does something to mine that I don't understand. You're a woman who lost everything and kept going anyway. His gaze didn't waver. Tell me that's not valuable. Ginny didn't know how to respond. Didn't know how to process the way he looked at her, like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. I should check in with Mrs. Song, she said, changing the subject. She'll fire me if I don't show up tonight. Already handled. You're on paid leave. Family emergency. You can't just arrange my entire life. I can and I did. Would you prefer I let the Cobra Syndicate find you at work? The logic was sound. Ginny hated that it was sound. Days blurred together. Ginny existed in a strange limbo, too scared to leave, too restless to accept captivity. Tahhan was gone most days. Business, he said. She didn't ask what kind. She learned the apartment's rhythms instead. The cleaning service that came at 10. The guards who rotated shifts outside the door. The way Seoul looked from 70 floors up, vast and impersonal and beautiful. She played the piano when loneliness became unbearable. Sometimes Tahhan would appear, silent, listening. They never spoke during those moments. Just shared space and melody and the weight of everything unspoken. On the 5th day he came home covered in blood again. Ginny was in the living room reading a book she'd found on his shelf, philosophy, dense and challenging. She looked up when he entered and the book fell from her hands. Are you hurt? The question came automatically. Not my blood. He strode past her toward his bedroom. Don't wait up. But she did. She sat on the couch, staring at the closed door, imagining what he was doing. Washing away evidence. Changing clothes. Becoming civilized again. An hour later he emerged. Clean. Dressed in fresh clothes. The monster carefully hidden. You're still awake, he observed. Whose blood was it? Does it matter? Yes. Ginny stood. Because if I'm going to be trapped here, I at least want to know what you're doing with my life as collateral. Something like approval flickered in his eyes. Fair enough. The Cobra Syndicate had a lieutenant who knew about you. Had your photo. Was planning to take you as leverage. Her stomach dropped. And now? Now he's not planning anything. Tahhan moved to the bar, poured whiskey. You're welcome. You killed him. I ended a threat to your life. There's a difference. Is there? Ginny's voice rose. Or is that how you justify it? By calling murder, handling threats. I don't need to justify anything. His voice remained calm. Infuriatingly calm. I do what's necessary to protect my people. You're one of my people now. I didn't ask to be. Neither did my brother. He didn't ask to be tortured. My men didn't ask to be hunted. The glass slammed down. First sign of emotion cracking through. We don't get to choose our circumstances, Ginny. We only get to choose how we survive them. And you chose violence. I chose power. Violence is just a tool. He crossed to her, each step measured. What would you choose? If someone threatened Elelliana, what wouldn't you do? Ginny's breath hitched. That's different. It's identical. You just haven't had to make that choice yet. He stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I've seen you, Ginny. The way you move through the world like you're apologizing for existing. The way you make yourself small so no one notices you. But I see you. And what I see is someone who would burn the world down for her sister. Just like I would have for my brother. Don't. Her voice shook. Don't pretend we're the same. I'm not pretending. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. I'm recognizing. The air between them electrified. Ginny's heart hammered against her ribs. She should step back. Should maintain distance. But his touch was gentle despite the blood he'd washed away, and something in her, something lonely and scared and tired of being strong, leaned into it. This is insane, she whispered. Probably. His thumb moved to her lower lip. But I haven't felt sane since you held that gun with trembling hands and looked at me like I was death itself. You are death. To my enemies. Not to you. He leaned closer, breath warming her lips. Never to you. She should say no. Should remind him that kidnapping someone doesn't create intimacy, it creates Stockholm Syndrome. But his eyes held something raw and real, and Ginny was so tired of being alone. We shouldn't, she breathed. I know. This is dangerous. I know that too. Then why? He kissed her. Soft at first. Testing. When she didn't pull away, his hands slid into her hair and the kiss deepened. Desperate. Like he was drowning and she was air. Ginny's hands fisted in his shirt. She kissed him back with all the fear and confusion and impossible attraction that had been building since that first moment in the blood-soaked penthouse. He tasted like whiskey and danger and something that felt terrifyingly like home. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Tahhan pressed his forehead to hers. This complicates things, he murmured. Everything is already complicated. Fair point. He stepped back, composure sliding into place like armor. You should sleep. Tahhan. Ginny. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a warning. Sleep. We'll figure this out tomorrow. He left her standing in the living room, lips still tingling, world tilted on its axis. Nothing would ever be simple again. The next 2 weeks passed in a haze of tension and stolen moments. Tahhan was different after the kiss. More present. He started coming home for dinner, bringing takeout and asking about her day like they were a normal couple in a normal situation. But nothing about this was normal. Ginny learned about his world in pieces. The legitimate businesses, restaurants, import companies, real estate. The less legitimate, protection rackets, information brokerage, weapons dealing. He never lied. Never sugarcoated. When she asked questions, he answered with brutal honesty. Doesn't it bother you? She asked one night. They were on his balcony, Seoul glittering below. Knowing people are afraid of you? Fear is useful. Fear keeps people alive. He took a sip of wine. Respect is better, but respect takes time. Fear is immediate. Is that what you want? People to fear you? I want people to leave me and mine alone. Fear accomplishes that. What about love? The question hung in the air. Tahhan turned to look at her. What about it? Do you want to be loved? By whom? Anyone. Everyone. She met his gaze. Me. His expression shifted. Vulnerable for just a moment. I stopped wanting to be loved when I realized love makes you weak. My father loved my mother. When she died, he fell apart. Couldn't run the organization. Couldn't protect us. His love made him vulnerable, and vulnerability got my brother killed. That's not how love works. Isn't it? Love makes you care. Caring makes you hesitate. Hesitation gets people killed. He set down his wine. I can't afford to love anyone. But you care about me. It wasn't a question. Caring and loving are different things. Are they? He didn't answer. Just stared out at the city like it held secrets he needed to extract. Ginny should leave it alone. Should accept his walls and maintain her own. But something reckless had taken root in her chest, fed by proximity and danger and the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. I think you're scared, she said softly. Of what? Of feeling something that matters. Because if it matters, it can hurt you. Tahhan's jaw tightened. You're a cleaner who reads philosophy and thinks she understands criminal psychology. I'm a person who lost everything and learned that love isn't weakness. It's the only thing that makes survival worthwhile. She stood, moving closer. You want to know why I kept going after my parents died? Not survival instinct. Well, I love Elelliana more than I fear poverty or exhaustion or failing. And that love makes me stronger, not weaker. You're young. Idealistic. I'm realistic. I know exactly how brutal the world is. But I also know that your brother's love for you is what kept him silent during torture. Love made him strong enough to protect you, even at the cost of his life. The words hit like bullets. Tahhan's entire body went rigid. For a moment she thought she'd gone too far. That he'd throw her out or worse. Instead he pulled her against him. Art. Desperate. Buried his face in her hair and held on like she was the only solid thing in a world that kept shifting. Don't, he said roughly. Don't make me feel this. Too late. Ginny wrapped her arms around him. You already do. They stood like that for a long time. Two broken people trying to fit their jagged edges together. Mrs. Park brought Elelliana to visit on day 16. Tahhan arranged it, a secure car, armed guards, a route designed to avoid any possible surveillance. Overkill probably, but thorough. Ginny met them in the lobby. Elelliana flew into her arms, nearly knocking her over. I missed you so much, her sister sobbed into her shoulder. I know, sweet pea. I missed you too. Mrs. Park smiled gently. She's been worried. Brave but worried. They went up to the apartment. Elelliana's eyes went wide at the luxury. Is this where you've been staying? Temporarily. Ginny didn't know how to explain. Didn't know what Tahhan had told Mrs. Park to tell her sister. It's complicated. Are you in trouble? No. I'm being helped. By a friend. As if summoned, Tahhan appeared. He'd made himself scarce, giving them space, but Elelliana spotted him immediately. Who's that? She whispered. Kim Tahhan. He's the friend I mentioned. Tahhan approached carefully. He'd changed into casual clothes, jeans and a sweater, looking more like a businessman than a criminal. He crouched to Elelliana's level. You must be Elelliana. Your sister talks about you constantly. Elelliana studied him with the brutal honesty of children. You're really tall. And scary looking. Elelliana. Ginny gasped. But Tahhan smiled. Genuine. I get that a lot. But I promise I'm only scary to bad people. And your sister is definitely not a bad person. Are you her boyfriend? Ginny wanted to die. Elelliana, that's. Would you like me to be? Tahhan asked, looking at Ginny now. The world stopped. Elelliana giggled. Mrs. Park suddenly became very interested in the view. And Ginny stood there, speechless, as this dangerous man asked her 9-year-old sister for permission to date her. Ginny managed. I think he should be, Elelliana declared. You've been alone too long, Ginny. And he seems nice. In a scary way. Tahhan's eyes crinkled with amusement. I'll take that as a compliment. They spent the afternoon together. Tahhan ordered lunch, pizza, ice cream, everything Elelliana loved. He was surprisingly good with her, patient and attentive. He showed her the piano, let her bang on the keys while he played accompaniment. Made her laugh with terrible jokes. Watching them, Ginny felt something crack open in her chest. Something warm and terrifying. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to see him as anything but her captor. Wasn't supposed to imagine a future where moments like this were normal. But she did. God help her, she did. When it was time for Elelliana to leave, she hugged Ginny tight. Come home soon. As soon as I can, sweet pea. I promise. Tahhan walked them down personally, ensuring they got into the secure car safely. When he returned, the apartment felt too quiet. Thank you, Ginny said. For letting her visit. For being kind to her. She's important to you. That makes her important to me. He moved closer. And to answer her question, yes. I would like to be your boyfriend. If you'll have me. Ginny's heart hammered. This is insane. You've said that before. It's still true. You're a criminal. Mine. The word was possessive. Final. If you want to be. She should say no. Should be smart. Should remember that fairy tales don't exist and mafia bosses don't fall in love with cleaners. But his eyes held something real. Something raw. And Ginny was tired of being afraid. Yes, she whispered. He kissed her. Slow and deep and full of promise. When they made it to his bedroom, their bedroom now, he touched her like she was precious. Worshipped her with hands that had killed and protected in equal measure. I don't know how to do this, he admitted in the darkness afterward, her head on his chest. Be with someone. Be soft. You're doing fine. Ginny traced the dragon tattoo that wound across his ribs. Better than fine. I'll hurt you eventually. It's what I do. Maybe. Or maybe you'll learn that some things are worth being vulnerable for. She pressed a kiss to his heart. I'm willing to risk it if you are. His arms tightened around her. You're braver than any soldier I've commanded. Or stupider. Definitely braver. He tilted her chin up. I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safe. But I can promise you're the most important thing in my world now. And I protect what's mine. I'm not a possession. No. You're a partner. If you want to be. The offer hung between them. Partnership implied equality. Choice. Agency. What would that mean? Practically? It means I teach you to defend yourself. To shoot. To recognize threats. It means you're part of my organization, not just connected to it. It means when I make decisions, I consider how they affect you. And you do the same. I don't want to be a criminal. You don't have to be. But you have to understand my world to survive in it. His expression turned serious. The Cobra Syndicate is still hunting. My men eliminated the immediate threat, but there are others. Until we end this war completely, you're in danger. I need you to be able to protect yourself if I'm not there. The logic was sound even if the situation was insane. Teach me then. Training began the next morning. Tahhan was a patient but demanding teacher. He started with basics, situational awareness, how to read a room, identifying exits and threats. Then came hand-to-hand combat. Pressure points. How to break holds. Where to strike to disable an attacker. Ginny was clumsy at first. Years of making herself small and invisible had trained her body to avoid conflict, not engage it. But Tahhan was persistent. Again, he said after she failed to escape his hold for the 5th time. I can't. You can. You're thinking too much. Feel where my weight is distributed. Where am I vulnerable? She tried again. Failed again. Frustration burned in her throat. I'm not built for this. I'm too small, too weak. You survived 19 years of hardship and kept your sister alive and thriving. You walked into a crime scene and kept your composure enough to function. You're not weak. You're untrained. There's a difference. He reset his grip. Now. One more time. And this time, trust your instincts. Something clicked. Ginny stopped thinking and moved. Shifted her weight. Struck his pressure point. Twisted free. Good. Genuine approval in his voice. Again. They trained for hours every day. Hand-to-hand became weapons training. How to hold a gun. How to aim. How to shoot without hesitation. The first time she fired, the recoil surprised her. The second time she hit the target. By the end of the week, she could group shots in the center mass. You're a natural, Tahhan observed. I'm motivated. Ginny set down the gun, ears ringing despite the protection. When can I see Elelliana again? Soon. My men are still tracking Cobra Syndicate movements. They've gone quiet, which worries me more than activity. He moved behind her, adjusting her stance. Quiet means they're planning something big. How big? Big enough that I've doubled security on all my properties. Big enough that I'm considering moving you and Elelliana somewhere safer. Ginny turned to face him. Running? Strategic retreat. There's a difference. You told me fear keeps people alive. But you also said you don't run from threats. I don't. But I will protect you above everything else. Including my pride. His jaw tightened. If keeping you safe means leaving Seoul temporarily, I'll do it. What about your organization? Your people? I have lieutenants who can manage operations. You I can't replace. The words settled between them, heavy with meaning. Ginny cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. We don't run. We end this. How do we end this? Something dark flickered in his gaze. You sure you want to know? Yes. We take out their leadership. The Cobra Syndicate is run by 3 brothers, the Park brothers. Eliminate them, the organization collapses. Problem is they're smart. They don't expose themselves easily. So we make them expose themselves. What do they want? Territory. Money. Power. The usual. Tahhan paused. And me? They want me dead specifically because I killed their father 5 years ago. Ginny's breath caught. Why? Because their father killed my brother. It's a cycle. Has been for a decade. His expression went cold. But I'm going to end it. Permanently. How? I'm going to give them what they want. Me. As bait. No. The word exploded out of her. Absolutely not. That's the only way. I arrange a meeting. Bring minimal security. They'll come thinking they have the advantage. My men will be positioned around the perimeter. When the Park brothers show themselves, we end it. And if something goes wrong? If they kill you? They won't. You can't know that. Ginny. He gripped her shoulders. This is what I do. This is who I am. I've been planning this for 5 years. Every move calculated. Every contingency covered. Except the contingency where you die and leave me and Elelliana alone. The vulnerability in her voice made him stop. He pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. I won't die. I have too much to live for now. That's not reassuring. It's the truth. Before you, I didn't care if I survived as long as I took them down with me. Now. His arms tightened. Now I have to come back. Because you're waiting for me. Ginny wanted to argue. Wanted to find another way. But she understood revenge. Understood the need to end things that haunted you. When? She asked quietly. 3 days. I've already sent word for a meeting. They accepted. 3 days to prepare. 3 days before everything either ended or exploded. I'm coming with you, Ginny said. Absolutely not. You just made me your partner. Partners don't get left behind. Partners also don't get brought into active war zones. I can shoot. I can fight. And I can watch your back. She pulled away to look at him. You said you protect what's yours. Well, you're mine too. And I protect what's mine. The argument that followed was fierce. But Ginny was immovable. She'd spent too long being protected, being hidden, being safe. If Tahhan was walking into danger, she was walking with him. Finally he relented. Fine. But you stay in the car with 2 of my best men. You don't engage unless absolutely necessary. And if I give the signal, you drive away and don't look back. Agreed. Agreed. He kissed her forehead. I'm starting to regret making you brave. Too late now. The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Tahhan's men gathered intelligence, planned positions, checked weapons. Ginny trained harder than ever, pushing past exhaustion. She visited Elelliana one more time, made sure Mrs. Park had instructions for every contingency. You're going to do something dangerous, Elelliana said. Not a question. Maybe. But I'll be careful. Is it for him? For Tahhan? It's for all of us. So we can be safe. So I can come home and stay home. Ginny hugged her tight. I love you, sweet pea. More than anything in this world. Love you more. Elelliana's voice wobbled. Come back, okay? I promise. The night before the meeting, Ginny couldn't sleep. She found Tahhan on the balcony, staring at Seoul like he was memorizing it. Nervous? She asked. Realistic. Things could go wrong. I need you to know that if they do, if I don't make it, everything is arranged. My lawyer has instructions. You and Elelliana will be taken care of. The apartment, money, protection. All of it. Stop. Ginny moved in front of him, blocking his view of the city. You're coming back. We both are. And then we're going to figure out how to have a normal life. Or as normal as we can manage. What does that look like? For us. I don't know. Maybe you teach me to play piano properly. Maybe I finish my degree. Maybe Elelliana gets to be a kid without worrying about money or medicine. Maybe we're just happy. For once. Tahhan smiled. Rare and genuine and beautiful. Happy. I like the sound of that. They made love slowly that night. Savoring. Memorizing. Just in case. The meeting was set for midnight in an abandoned warehouse district. Neutral territory, or as neutral as anything could be in Seoul's criminal underworld. Ginny wore all black. Bulletproof vest under her jacket. Gun at her hip, another at her ankle. Tahhan had insisted on redundancy. She sat in the back of the armored SUV with two of his men, Jimin and Hosiak, both former military, both loyal unto death. Remember, Tahhan said before he got out. You don't leave this vehicle unless I signal. And if things go south, I drive away. I know. Ginny grabbed his hand. Be careful. He kissed her. Hard and desperate. See you soon. Then he was gone, walking into the warehouse with four of his men flanking him. Confident. Controlled. Every inch the leader he was. Ginny watched through the tinted windows. The warehouse was massive, filled with shadows. Floodlights had been set up in the center, creating a circle of light. Theatrical. Dangerous. Three men emerged from the opposite side. The Park brothers. Even from a distance, Ginny could see the family resemblance. Tall, broad, moving with predatory grace. The groups met in the center. Words were exchanged, too quiet to hear. Then one of the Park brothers laughed. Cold and mocking. Tahhan's posture shifted. Subtle, but Ginny had learned to read him. He was getting ready to move. Something's wrong, she murmured. Jimin leaned forward. Boss can handle? Gunfire erupted. Not from the center. From above. Snipers. Hosiak shouted. It's an ambush. Tahhan's men returned fire, diving for cover. But there were too many shooters. Too many angles. The Park brothers had brought an army. Ginny watched in horror as one of Tahhan's men fell. Then another. Tahhan was pinned behind a concrete barrier, outnumbered and outgunned. We have to help him, Ginny said. Boss's orders, Jimin started, are about to get him killed. She grabbed her gun. I can flank them from the east side. Draw some fire away from him. You're not trained for this. I'm the only chance he has. Ginny yanked the door handle. Stay or come. Your choice. Hosiak cursed. I'm coming. Jimin, provide cover fire from here. They moved fast. Ginny's training kicked in. Stay low, use cover, don't think, just act. They reached the eastern entrance. 3 Cobra Syndicate soldiers guarding it. Ginny didn't hesitate. She fired. Send her mash just like Tahhan taught her. One down. Hosiak took the other 2. They pushed inside. The warehouse was chaos. Muzzle flashes in the dark. Shouting. The smell of cordite and blood. Ginny spotted Tahhan. He was wounded, blood on his shoulder, but still fighting. Still protecting his remaining men. She made a decision. Fired at the sniper position above him. The sniper jerked, fell. Tahhan looked up, saw her, and his expression shifted from tactical to terrified. Get out, he shouted. But she couldn't. Because one of the Park brothers had spotted her. Was raising his weapon. Was aiming directly at her heart. Time slowed. Ginny saw the future branch. Her death, Tahhan's devastation, Elelliana alone. Unacceptable. She fired first. The bullet caught the Park brother in the chest. He went down hard. His brothers screamed in rage. And suddenly Tahhan was there. He'd crossed the warehouse in seconds, putting himself between Ginny and the remaining Park brothers. You want me? He roared. Here I am. What happened next was brutality given form. Tahhan moved like violence incarnate. No hesitation. No mercy. He'd been holding back before, trying to negotiate. Now he was simply ending it. The second Park brother fell. Then the third. Their soldiers, seeing their leaders dead, either surrendered or fled. Silence fell. Heavy. Final. Tahhan turned to Ginny. Blood on his face. Death in his eyes that slowly cleared when he saw she was unhurt. You were supposed to stay in the car, he said. You were supposed to not get yourself killed. They stared at each other. Then Tahhan laughed. Exhausted and relieved and slightly unhinged. We make a terrible team, he said. The worst. Ginny's legs gave out. Adrenaline crash. Tahhan caught her, held her up. Is it over? It's over. He pressed his forehead to hers. It's finally over. The aftermath was complicated. Police had to be paid off. Bodies had to be disappeared. Witnesses had to be managed. But Tahhan's organization was efficient. By sunrise it was like the warehouse battle had never happened. Except for the bodies. Except for the end of a 5-year war. Tahhan's shoulder wound required stitches. Ginny sat with him while his private doctor worked, holding his hand, trying not to think about how close they'd come to losing everything. You saved my life, he said quietly. You saved mine first. We're even. We're not even close to even. You shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have risked yourself. Partners? Ginny reminded him. That means we risk together. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, marry me. Ginny's head snapped up. What? Marry me? Not now. When things are settled. When you're ready. But marry me. His eyes held hers. Because I don't want to survive anymore. I want to live. And I want to live with you. Tears blurred her vision. You're delirious from blood loss. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in years. His good hand cupped her face. I love you, Ginny Park. I don't know how it happened or when. Maybe it was the first moment I saw you with that gun. Maybe it was when you played piano in my apartment. Maybe it was watching you fight beside me like you were born for it. But I love you. And I don't want to waste another second pretending I don't. I love you too, she whispered. Even though you're a criminal and a killer and completely insane. Is that a yes? It's a maybe. Ask me again when you're not bleeding. He smiled. Fair enough. 1 month later, Ginny moved Elelliana into Tahhan's apartment. Their apartment now. The penthouse filled with life. Elelliana's laughter, her asthma medication in the kitchen, her artwork on the previously sterile walls. Tahhan was surprisingly good at domesticity. He learned to make pancakes for Elelliana. Helped with her homework. Attended parent-teacher conferences like he wasn't one of the most dangerous men in Seoul. Ginny returned to university. Business administration, because if she was going to be with Tahhan, she needed to understand his legitimate operations. He was already teaching her, pulling her into meetings, asking her opinion on deals. You have good instincts, he said one night, reviewing contracts together. Better than most of my lieutenants. I just think about what makes sense long-term. Not just what makes money now. Exactly. That's rare in this business. He closed the laptop. Speaking of long-term, he pulled out a box. Velvet. Small. Ginny's breath caught. Tahhan. You said to ask again when I wasn't bleeding. I've been not bleeding for weeks now. He opened the box. The ring inside was perfect. Simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the light. Marry me, Ginny. Be my partner in everything. Build a life with me. Help me be better than I was. Elelliana appeared in the doorway wide-eyed. Is he proposing? Elelliana, you're supposed to be in bed, Ginny said weakly. This is way more important than bed. Say yes. Ginny looked at Tahhan. At this man who'd dragged her into danger and taught her to be strong. Who'd killed for her and almost died beside her. Who made her sister laugh and played piano in the dark and looked at her like she hung the moon. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on her finger. Kissed her while Elelliana cheered. And for the first time in years, Ginny felt like she'd found home. Not the apartment. Not Seoul. But this, Tahhan's arms around her, Elelliana's joy, the future spreading before them like an unwritten page. The wedding was small. Just Tahhan's most trusted men, Mrs. Park, and a handful of people who mattered. They held it in a private garden, away from prying eyes. Ginny wore a simple white dress. Tahhan wore a suit that probably cost more than her entire education. When he slipped the second ring on her finger, binding them together officially, he leaned close. I was lost before you, he whispered. You found me. We found each other, she corrected. The reception was intimate. No ostentatious display. Just good food and better company. Tahhan danced with her in the moonlight, swaying to music only they could hear. Any regrets? He asked. About marrying a mafia boss? Constantly. She smiled. But I wouldn't change it. Even knowing what you know. What I've done. Especially knowing. Because I know what you're capable of. And I know you chose to be better. For me. For Elelliana. For yourself. She rested her head on his chest. We're all works in progress. Philosophical as always. Someone has to be in this relationship. He laughed. Genuine and free. The sound she'd worked so hard to earn. Later, when the guests had left and Elelliana was asleep in her room, Ginny and Tahhan stood on the balcony. Their balcony. Looking out at Seoul, the city that had almost destroyed them and ultimately brought them together. What do you think happens next? Ginny asked. Next we live. Really live. Not just survive. Tahhan pulled her close. I'm going to teach you piano. You're going to finish your degree. Elelliana is going to grow up safe and loved. And we're going to have normal, boring days interspersed with occasionally dangerous ones. Sounds perfect. It won't be perfect. I'm still me. I still have enemies. Still do things you won't always approve of. I know. But you're mine. And I'm yours. That's enough. They stood there as Seoul sparkled below, two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. The cleaner and the criminal. The girl who wanted invisibility and the man who commanded fear. Together they'd learned something neither had known alone. That love wasn't weakness. It was the bravest thing either of them had ever done. And in the end, that bravery had saved them both. 3 years later, Ginny sat at the grand piano in their living room. Elelliana was 12 now, thriving, talking about becoming a doctor. Tahhan had gone mostly legitimate, still powerful, still respected, but his operations were clean. Mostly. He came up behind her, hands on her shoulders. Play something. What do you want to hear? Claire de Lune. The song you played the first morning you were here. Ginny's fingers found the keys. The melody filled the apartment, bittersweet and beautiful. Tahhan sat beside her, adding harmony. Their hands moved together, creating something neither could make alone. When the last note faded, Ginny leaned against him. I never thanked you properly. For what? For seeing me. When I was trying so hard to be invisible. I'll always see you, he promised. Always. Outside, Seoul hummed with life. Inside they built something that shouldn't exist but did. A home. A family. A future. Her hands weren't meant to hold a gun. But that night they had. And everything that came after, the danger, the fear, the violence, the love, led them here. To this moment. To this life. Some people say fate is written in the stars. Others believe we carve our own destiny. Ginny believed in neither. She believed in choices. And every day she chose him. Just as he chose her. That was enough. That was everything. Thank you for listening to Mafia Love Story, where every heartbeat hides a secret, and every secret hides a heart. If you love Ginny and Tahhan's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter of Obsession and Fate. Tell us in the comments, would you have stayed in the car or would you have fought beside him? We'll see you in the next story, where danger and desire are never far apart.